I remember every smartphone before 2022, like every classic smartphone that had the next token prediction on the screen. I remember that it was interesting, but I didn't pay a lot of attention to this. I was actually not very interested in computer science or anything like that in the past. But I did see that it was cool to see that smartphones were smart enough to understand what was the next token. So that's why we talk about next token prediction. I had no idea that it was essentially the same mechanism that language models, large language models, have today. And I think that it is magical. But at the same time, it is the wonders of simple mathematical representations of everything. Like you start with something with a single block, and then you put the other one, and then suddenly you have a whole castle. And I think it's a simple way to visualize how simple things can become entire castles or universes or whatever you want to call it. And I think it is more or less the same thing with our thoughts. So we build our thoughts like that. We start with simple representations of something, and then it grows and grows and grows and grows. It can be a problem, it can be a vision, it can be a dream, it can be anything. And I think that it is a way to understand what happens within our heads and what happens within language, and why next token prediction comes to be some sort of representation of everything that happens in language. And when we talk like that, we can say that everything that has happened in language, that happens in language, and that will happen in language, or that could happen in language, is already there. It has a lot of philosophical implications, I think, and I don't know what to make of it. I did a drawing the other day. I'm not sure if I have it here. Let me see. Let me check. In order to understand more or less next token prediction, doing it within something I crafted myself, but it is basically this. Yes, I have, by the way. So I don't know if in the screen you can see it, but it is basically the classical roadmap that is performed within next token prediction mechanisms, in which you have the different strings you have in a three-dimensional space, and these strings are like infinity strings, and now it is up to you, or up to the prompt output, to develop that idea and develop that pathway, and it will lead you anywhere. That's what's incredible about the next token prediction. In a recent interview by Kurjai Mongol to Elon Barinholtz, they talk about next token prediction, but they also talk about how language models are able to map the language this way through next token prediction. Another system peculiarities I am not able to explain or articulate, but it is well, when it talks about next token prediction, is basically that, and the idea that in the brain, the human brain, we have a different type of mapping that goes on, that is non-symbolic, or that is actually symbolic in terms of our direct relationship with the language. And I think that as Elon Barinholtz points out, the mystery of a third representation, of a third embedding, is something that we should be interested in. However, as a trained translator and interpreter, I reflect a lot about these things, because we have this third space, more or less, in which we usually think, and it is the space of deverbalisation, if we can say it that way, in which we deconstruct the idea, the image, the argument, the output we hear from the other people or we read, and then we deconstruct that, and then we rebuild it back again in another language, It is basically the process of interpreting, of understanding, and then interpreting something and giving it a different shape in our target language. And this space is very, very different to what we can predict in a computer, or anything that can be represented in images even, because I think it stems from personal experiences with both language and the external world. I see that Ilan Barinholtz talked about uh, uh, a research, a paper he's working on about the latent space between between English and Spanish, in which two language models that are trained exclusively in those two different languages interact, and then they start finding patterns. That is something different to what happens in the human brain, I think, because we are linking our language to our life experience and to our interactions with the external world. So what does it mean, and how can we leverage those types of relations? First, I think we have to understand that computers are perfect for pattern matching. That's their role. That's what they're good at. And we, as human beings, I suppose that we are natural classifiers, and that the relevance of the information is what makes something go here or go there and so on. And I think that we just need to create, well, as translators, or as interpreters of reality, really, not only people working in languages. We have to understand that this relationship is essential. I mean, this dichotomy and this intersection, let's say, is something that we have to understand in order to navigate technology and navigate information nowadays, in order to create new things. So I believe that we have to check that out, understand next token prediction, in order to navigate infinite strings uh, of information, language, and possible creations, and also apply that to our understanding, our own way of speaking, and simply creating with language. Since I am particularly interested in the topic of multilingual agency, of course I'm interested in giving advice about, or talking about how these types of mechanisms can influence and inform about the ways we use languages. And this is something I will keep exploring later. But for now, I just wanted to say this. And yeah, I suppose I will be talking more about next token prediction and that interview with Ilan Barinholtz, because it has so much to say. It has so many things to talk about. But for now, I think I'll stop it here. And yeah, I'm working also on something completely unrelated. It is the cultural intelligence document that I will be providing soon. I'll make it available. And I think in times like this, it is essential to reconnect ourselves to that kind of intelligence, right? So let's focus on what's right. So well, that's all that I wanted to say for now, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.